Well, we could talk about lawnmower robots, but let's talk song. In this video, you are going to learn about the power of the Lydian mode. You are going to learn how to use chords and melody notes to highlight prosody, and you are going to learn how to write sneaky and deceiving lyrics and how to use foreshadowing elements to kind of give away your resolutions for the real nerds looking at your songs. So let's get going.
It's kinda cute, but it's so short that you're driving me home and I don't wanna leave.
Today's song is Ceilings by Lizzy McAlpine. What a great name for a singer, Lizzy McAlpine. It's super cool. And the song is super cool as well. I heard the song a couple of months ago and thought, well, this is cool. This is something that I have to keep in mind for a Let's Talk song. And it kept reappearing in the playlists and it didn't go away. Apparently, a lot of people like it, and so do I. The first very remarkable thing about this song is that it is not in 4/4 time. It's not in common time. The time signature that is used here is 6/8. Which is something that is not very unusual, but it's definitely not the common time signature 4/4. And this special time signature also sets certain limitations and rules when it comes to melodic and harmonic rhythm. And this is something that we are going to take a look at. But first, let's analyze the chord progression from the intro. This was the complete intro. What we have here is an 8-bar chord progression where there are smaller elements that are combined with each other. Let's look at the smaller elements and at the complete chord progression. We start with a D sus2 voicing. So this is D, A, G, power chord if you will, and we add the 2 or the 9. We don't play the 3, which is why it's a sus2 voicing. So we play the 2 instead of the 3. D sus2, and the next chord is F sharp minor 7. So up here we keep a very similar shape. This one was the first one, and all we move is the D that becomes the C sharp, and the bass note also changes. Then we go to bars 3 and 4, or to the second element of the chord progression, if you will. Again, we have 1 bar of D sus2, but in the second bar, so in bar number 4 in total, we don't do F sharp minor 7, but we do this here instead. What this is we play an A major chord in the right hand with C sharp and bass, so with its 3 in bass, and the second chord in this measure is E sus. So E, A, B, and the octave, and E again. E sus 4 means that we do not play this 3 note, but instead the sus chord. This is element number 2. Then the third element, the third form, is D sus2 F sharp minor 7, the thing that we know from bars 1 and 2 already. And we close this chord progression with 2 measures of E sus 4. This brings up the question of the key we are in, because yes, we start with the D chord and the D seems to have a lot of prominence, but for example, we have an E sus or E major voicing that doesn't play a big role in the D major scale, so we are definitely not in D major. If we look at all the notes that are in the different chords, we will find that we are more likely in the key of A major. A major has got those notes. A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, and A, but the A major chord itself is not very prominent. Far more prominent, and the tonal center of the song, if you will, is still the D major or the D sus2 chord. That means that we are not in the key of A major or A Ionian, but instead in the key of D Lydian. D Lydian shares all the notes with A major, with A Ionian, but changes the tonal center. The tonal center becomes this D chord and changes the vibe of the complete song. We are going to see in the different sections of the song how Lydian the song actually is. When we look at chord functions in the intro, in the chord progression, that means that we start with the 4 chord. After the 4 chord, we play the 6 minor chord, F sharp minor 7. Then it's 4 chord again and 1 5 in bar number 4. Back to 4 chord, back to 6 minor chord. And then we have got 2 bars of the 5 chord, the E sus. It's very important to note that in Lydian mode, of course, this E major chord doesn't have a dominant function. We don't go from E major to A major. This would be something that we do in A Ionian. But here in the Lydian mode, this 5 chord hasn't got a dominant function. Actually, when we look at all the added notes, like for example the 9 or those sus chord voicings, we see that the functions in the original sense become more and more blurry in the context of that song. So we haven't got a clear tonic chord, we haven't got a clear subdominant chord, we haven't got a clear dominant chord, but instead we have a floaty vibe, which is something that Lydian mode does, and something that kind of elevates us into a dream region musically. The verse uses the same chord progression as was presented in the intro, but of course introduces a vocal melody as well. This is the first half of the verse melody. What we see here is a great emphasis on the E note. So over this D sus2 voicing, we sing E and A. Ceilings. Here we have got C sharp and A. Plaster. Can't you just make it move faster? We stress the sus. 4. Lovely to be sitting here with you. This is actually quite cool because we have got an E sus voicing that implies that there is no 3, so no G sharp, but the melody sings the G sharp, making it very open, very blurry, very dreamy. The second half of the verse, so the complete chord progression repeats and the melody also repeats. What changes slightly is this short melody phrase that always transitions from one part to the other. So in the first half it was, you're kinda cute, but it's... Okay, so A, B, C sharp, E, A, C sharp. In the second time around, it's kinda cute, but it's... So we change the E, and the E becomes the F sharp. After that, we go into the chorus. In the chorus, we have got a new chord progressions, but we have got elements that were also presented in the intro and in the verse. The chord progression goes like this. What we have here is 2 bars of D major, this time with the actual major 3 playing, but adding the 9. So D major add 9. 2 bars. Then it's A major, in my opinion, also add 9. And E sus4, a voicing that we know from the verse. Repeat everything. And at the end of the chorus, we go to a chord that has not been seen or heard before, C sharp minor 7, for 2 bars with this string line that then goes to 2 bars of E sus. The melody in the chorus goes like this. What is very interesting and what's very Lydian is that we stress the G sharp in the melody. So the G sharp over the D major chord is the sharp 11, a very characteristic feature of a Lydian chord or of the Lydian mode in general. And this builds a lot of tension with this A in the voicing. So BAM! But it's over. It's not really part of the chord, but it's really, really cool, the sharp 11. But it's over, and I have to go home. Here, this G sharp becomes the major 7 of the A major chord. In the E voicing, it's the regular 3. Again, curious that the voicing is actually an E sus voicing and the note is still the major 3. This is really cool. This is this C sharp minor 7 chord, and the melody note sung on top of it is actually an F sharp. So again, a foreign note, a note that is only part of the scale but not part of the chord. It would be the 4 of the chord. And then before. So we do E-B, both chord tones, but then down, introducing the 6 or the 13 in that case because it's a 5 chord. So very, very interesting melodic ideas, all in all adding to this very dreamy, floaty Lydian vibe that this song conveys. Verse 2 starts the same as verse number 1. What we are going to look at is the sensational reharm choice in the second half of verse number 2. Would say all of this, but I don't want to ruin the moment. So the chord progression stays the same, but we enter a melodic variation, okay? Now listen for this. Lovely to sit between comfort and chaos. This is sensational, actually. So what we do here is D sus2, C sharp 7, D sus2 again, and E sus4. What Lizzy does here is she chooses a secondary dominant. That is this C sharp 7. C sharp 7 is the 5 of the 6 minor. So C sharp 7 is the 5 of F sharp minor. And it's got a very, very strong pull, and it's got dominant function big time. But we don't go to this F sharp minor, but instead we go back to D sus. So it's a resolution that is no resolution. And talking about prosody, we are going to look at the lyrics at the end of the video as always, but the line that she sings here is lovely to sit between comfort and chaos. So, to sit between comfort and chaos, underlined musically by introducing a secondary dominant that does not resolve to its actual 6 minor chord, but goes back to the chord where it came from, is prosody big time. Very, very well played here. That also means that we have got no transitional melody from verse 2 to the chorus. Remember that in verse number 1, we always had this, you're kinda cute, but it's, that lyrically and melodically build up towards chorus number 1. We haven't got this before chorus number 2. Before chorus number 2, it's lovely to sit between comfort and chaos. And this 4 chord that is also the beginning of the chorus comes unannounced, if you will. Chorus number 2, in terms of chord progression and melody, offers no variation in comparison to chorus number 1. But we haven't got this C sharp minor ending, this before. Instead, we go to a 3rd chorus. So we end chorus number 2 by saying, you kiss me in the car and it feels like the start of a movie I've seen before, and go directly into the beginning of chorus number 3, and also the melody changes. But it's not real, and you don't exist, and I can't recall the last time I was kissed. It hits me in the car and it feels like the end of the movie I've seen before. The melody changes. We don't focus on this G sharp for that tiny bit that is the beginning of chorus number 3, but instead go to B. But it's not real, and you don't exist. This is challenging. You don't exist, C sharp, and I can't recall the last time I was kissed. So it's a variation of this melody, and we take everything up a notch once again. The second half of chorus number 3 is the same as the other choruses before. It hits me, but this time R is harmonized like this, with an F sharp minor voicing. So what was this D sharp minor voicing after chorus number 1 now becomes the F sharp minor 7 voicing, and it's actually the first time that we have got something like a resolution, although not a perfect resolution. Where we come from is this E sus chord that then goes and resolves into the F sharp minor chord. 5 to 6 minor is what we would call a deceptive resolution, so something that builds and leads us somewhere, but not exactly where we expected. Leads us to a sad version of the home that we were looking for. Another example, we are going to look at lyrics later, for the prosody intended here, okay? So we build up, dominant chord, and where we land is this sad minor, the 6 minor chord. However, this is not the end of the song. We go back to E sus. So this is the last chord in the song, an unresolved E sus chord. I think this is it in terms of chords and melody. It's now time to look at the lyrics. Verse number 1. Ceilings, plaster, can't you just make it move faster? Lovely to be sitting here with you. You're kind of cute and it's. This you're kind of cute and it's is, as I already said, this transitional phrase that takes us from verse 1 to verse 2. We have got one lyric motif, ceilings. 2-syllable word, stress on the first syllable, ceilings. This lyrical motif gets repeated with another word, plaster. And then there is a long line answering to those two short impressions. Can't you just make it move faster? Here we see the first rhyme, so faster rhymes with plaster. Then we have got a repetition of this short lyrical motif, lovely. Okay, so ceilings, plaster, lovely. And then we have got one additional long line, to be sitting here with you. If you ask me, that 3-line verse builds an AAB rhyme pattern. Why is it B? Because we are going to find this B line in the second half of the verse. For now, we have got AAB. Ceilings, plaster, can't you just make it move faster? Lovely to be sitting here with you. You're kind of cute, but it's, as I said, is for me a transition, maybe even a pickup for the second verse half. The second verse half is raining harder. So again, this short word motif with stressed, unstressed syllable. My shoes are now full of water. Lovely, repetition of the word lovely, to be rained on with you. So it was to be sitting here with you in the first verse. Now it's to be rained on with you. If you ask me, CCB rhyming pattern. Why CC? Because A is already taken from the first verse half, and the B line, to be rained on with you, is the one that rhymes with the first verse half. The first verse sets the scene. The two words ceilings and plaster, this took me a while to figure out what that means. Ceilings, plaster, can't you just make it move faster? What's it? Time. Can't you just make time move faster? Because I'm staring at the ceiling so intensely that I make out the plaster and the patterns that it builds. So it's actually a description of a very desolated and very boring scene. The B line makes this scene lovely. Lovely to be sitting here with you. So we have got a very sad environment. Ceilings, plaster, can't you just make it move faster? But lovely to be sitting here with you. The same is true for the second verse half, where it says raining harder. My shoes are now full of water. A very unpleasant image, but lovely to be rained on with you. So we always have this contrast between a very sad imagery and this comment, but as long as I'm with you, everything is great. Then we go to the chorus, and the chorus is, it's kind of cute, but it's so short. Then you're driving me home, and I don't want to leave, but I have to go. You kiss me in your car, and it feels like the start of a movie I've seen before World War. It's kind of hard to spot the different lines and to spot any type of rhyming pattern. So short, doesn't rhyme with anything. Then you're driving me home. Home is going to rhyme with something later on. And I don't want to leave, doesn't rhyme with anything. But I have to go. In my opinion, home and go form an almost rhyme. And then it's you kiss me in your car, and it feels like the start of the movie I've seen before. So we have got a lot of lines that are different in length, that don't really go along well, but whose purpose is to continue painting an image, continue telling a story. The verse number 2 follows the same rules as verse number 1. So we have got bed sheets, no clothes, touch me like nobody else does, lovely to just lay here with you, you're kind of cute and I. And now we have got this also melodically varied second half of verse number 2 that is also lyrically varied. Would say all of this, but I don't want to ruin the moment. Lovely to sit between comfort and chaos. We leave the established metric rhythm and rhyming pattern, and the words are lovely to sit between comfort and chaos. This is called prosody. Prosody is when you use the words to underline a musical emotion, or the other way around, when you use the music to underline what is being expressed in the words. It's very unusual in terms of wording, in terms of this metric rhythm that the words establish. So it's nothing very common. It's not dum da da dum dum. It's not something that we hear very often. It's rather unique. Plus, introducing those prosodic elements makes it a very, very special song. Then we have got chorus number 2 that offers slight variations in the words, but it's over. Then you're driving me home again, and it kind of comes out as I get up to go. You kiss me in your car, and it feels like the start of a movie I've seen before. So a lot of those things we have already heard in chorus number 1. And then there is chorus number 3 that kind of explains everything that is going on here. But it's not real, and you don't exist. And I can't recall the last time I was kissed. It hits me in the car, and it feels like the end of a movie I've seen before. So this chorus number 3, and it's also the emotional way in which it is sung, reveals in a very dramatical way that all of this is an illusion, that this person, this you, that kisses the singer does not in fact exist, and everything was just an illusion, an imagination. And this is very, very bittersweet, or just bitter, if you ask me, but is probably why the song resonates with so many people and why it's so popular, because it tells a story of a fictional love of a very sad person. And sadness is always a very good idea to sing about when you want to write a hit song. So in terms of rhyming pattern, what is interesting is that we keep this home go rhyming pattern from chorus number 1 and 2. In chorus number 3, but it's not real, and you don't exist, and I can't recall the last time I was kissed. So those two words rhyme just as home and go rhymed in choruses number 1 and 2. And for the rest, it's basically the same thing. We have got no clear metric rhythm. We have got no clear rhyming pattern. And all in all, this loose lyric arrangement adds to this dreamy vibe, Lydian mode, floaty vibe, dreamy vibe, plus the content that actually tells us that everything was a dream. So it's a good idea to use the Lydian mode to talk about a dream. And we are now, for the end of the video, going to look at the foreshadowing elements, the words in verses number 1 and 2 that actually can give us a hint about the fact that everything is just in the singer's imagination. Actually, it starts with the first lines. So suddenly, ceilings, plaster, can't you just make it move faster, paints the picture of the singer, of Lizzy, alone in her room, staring at the ceiling and having nothing to do. Ceilings, plaster, can't you just make time move faster? And then she starts imagining somebody. Lovely to be sitting here with you. But as long as you're here, which you're not, everything's cool. And in the chorus, and it feels like the start of a movie I've seen before. So a movie, being a fictional surrounding, already sets the scene, or already gives away the fact that we are not in the real world. Verse number 2, I think, was chosen pretty cleverly when she says, bed sheets, no clothes. Imagine her alone in bed. Touch me like nobody else does. We have got the word nobody in the line. So touch me like nobody. There is actually nobody touching her. Touch me like nobody else does. And those words already are a hint of what we can expect in the resolution of chorus number 3. Lovely to just lay here with you. You're kind of cute. And I would say all of this, but I don't want to ruin the moment. Lovely to sit between comfort and chaos. So those two lines, I don't want to ruin the moment, and lovely to sit between comfort and chaos also shows us that there is something wrong. She doesn't want to do anything wrong to not ruin the moment, that is, wake up or get real. lovely to sit between comfort and chaos, which is a very, very strong and excellent image for a dream world, okay? The dream world being something between comfort and chaos. And then, but it's over, then you're driving me home. So also this it's over thing is also a foreshadowing element. And then there is this third chorus that it says, but it's not real and you don't exist. And this is pretty obvious now. And this movie line also changes and it feels like the end of a movie I've seen before. It's a very unusual sadness for this kind of popular pop song that this became. Everybody listens to the song. A lot of people can obviously identify with it. And it is very intelligently written in that it chooses to leave the traditional Ionian, Aeolian modes, chooses to introduce the Lydian mode to musically foreshadow that we are talking about a dream world here. Pretty cool. I guess this is it. As always, if you like this, please remember to give me the thumbs up, to subscribe to the Let's Talk Song channel, to hit the bell and get notified when I release a new video. It's always 1 week cover, the next week analysis of this cover, and then back with another cover. Very important, please leave comments. Please tell me how you liked it. Please give me suggestions for songs you want me to analyze. Please also share the videos and spread the word a little bit. I guess we've talked song. You can talk about lawnmower robots now.
It's kinda cute, but it's so short that you're driving me home, and I don't